Nurse Stories Live. We have a special co-host today, Monica, our first ever guest on Nurse Stories Live. She's here today as my friend and co-host, and we want to welcome Nurse Jessica Seibert. So she's here. She's got extensive background in nursing. She's a licensed practical nurse and a manager of a ketamine clinic in South Florida. So please, Jessica, tell us more about your background and how you touch people's lives with ketamine.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I started in the 90s as a CNA, and then I went to LPN school. I've worked in med surg, hospice, wounds, infection control, management, and then long-term care. Um, I guess I first started really questioning the medical model after COVID happened. Well, I guess even before that, in 2015, I moved from Pennsylvania. Around maybe 2012, I was working in long term care, and I found my first patient that had CBD in their room. And I was kind of confused about it. You know, we had already been thinking in long term care, what is it going to look like when the baby boomers come in to long-term care? We're no longer going to play Lawrence Welk and big band music, but you know they're going to want to listen to ZZ Top and have cannabis parties. So we were already looking into that. And then I had to give my first patient Marinol, which back then it was maybe 2013. Medical marijuana wasn't legal then. I was the first person that was going to give it in the facility. And when I saw it, when I saw the results that happened from giving it, I was amazed. I was amazed that this person that had cancer, that was vomiting, that was in so much pain, like he really was suffering. And within a half an hour of giving the Marinol, he was sitting up on the edge of the bed looking for ice cream. He wanted chocolate ice cream. He was hungry. He was laughing. It made a huge impact on me. You know, I wasn't giving him oxy. I wasn't giving him compazine or Phenergan. I wasn't giving him all the traditional things. So that really kind of stuck with me. And then in 2015, we moved to Florida. I didn't work for a while. And I started having some neck issues, some neck and back issues. And I went to doctor after doctor after doctor, and all that they wanted to do was put me on pain medicine. They wanted to give me Vicodin or a fentanyl patch. Finally, I went to a doctor that suggested medical cannabis, and I thought, well, I don't think that's going to help for my pain, but it might be a good time, so let's try. And when I started using it, and I really started matching the terpene profile with what I was trying to treat, it was kind of like a light switch went off. And then around 2017, I was working in a long-term care facility, and I had a patient whose mom, or I'm sorry, whose daughter brought in cannabis liquid tincture for her mom and wanted some help with it. And within 2 weeks, we got this woman off of her Jergesic patch. We got her off of OxyContin, and we got her off of her Percocet. She gained 8 pounds in her first month. She started coming down to the dining room and having dinner. She even went out for dinner with her husband. So that was such a huge light bulb moment for me in my nursing career, that you know the way that we were treating the symptoms just wasn't working. This was working so much better for her. Then COVID happened, and I was going to get a 3-day suspension for hugging a patient. I had a patient that was alert and oriented, and she was suffering with some personal issues, and she asked for a hug. And when I hugged her, my nurse manager happened to be walking past the room and sent me to her office and started to tell me how I had um, not followed protocols for COVID, and she was going to suspend me. And I tried to explain to her, I understood what she was saying, but you know, I was trying to treat the whole mind, body, spirit. This was an alert and oriented patient that just wanted a hug. So I gave her a hug and was going to get in trouble for that. So I decided then to leave nursing and I wasn't sure where I was going to go. And I just kind of, um, I wasn't doing anything for a while. And then I came across the ketamine facility. I went for an interview. I started working at the front desk. Then I took a course in psychedelic integration and I started working in the back. And fast forward to today, I'm the office manager. Um, it's really just been such a beautiful journey. Personally, I started looking into different alternative therapies for myself. I had suffered from depression my entire life. I was having the chronic pain. I started looking into magic mushrooms. I looked into several other modalities. I had used some ayahuasca, and then I came across the ketamine facility, and everything just kind of fell into place. And I've been there ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. What is the normal client, or I guess there's not a normal client, but what do your clients look like now?
So we treat people who are suffering from things like anxiety, depression, PTSD, chronic pain, neuropathy, alcoholism, and other addictions. Um, Even some bipolar disorder, um, with the ketamine. It works completely differently. Traditional pharmaceuticals kind of are just treating the symptoms, but ketamine works differently. It goes in and blocks the NMDA receptor. So the patients have this cascading effect in their brain. They have neuroplasticity taking place, neurogenesis. They start having their own dopamine. So it kind of cures the wound. So you're no longer needing to treat the symptoms, if that makes sense.
What are some reasons that you might not be able to use ketamine on someone, or a reason you might reject someone from your clinic?
Ketamine has a really beautiful safety profile. It doesn't suppress the respiratory or the cardiovascular system in any way, but it can give you a little bit of a blood pressure spike. So anybody with any type of cardiac history, I would have get cardiac clearance. But we've even had people that have had some extensive cardiac history. Their cardiologist has given them clearance. We do not treat people with schizophrenia and anybody that's in an active manic state.
I see.
We've treated from the age of 15 to our oldest patient was 90.
Oh, wow. Oh, so and you use IV ketamine or nasal ketamine?
So right now we do IV or intramuscular. Over the years, we've kind of tweaked and evolved our protocols a little bit. Pretty much we specialize in intramuscular ketamine. We find that it just creates more of a profound experience. You metabolize the medicine differently, so we can dose differently. There are very few things that I like the IV better for. People with certain like CRPS, MS and Parkinson's, elderly patients, I like it better for. And people with
What
no
is
psychedelic
CRPS? I'm
experience, I
sorry, I'm
like to
not
start.
familiar. What is CRPS?
Oh, chronic regional pain syndrome.
Okay.
There's a documentary on Netflix called Taking Care of Maya, and it's about this little girl who has this rare type of pain, and a catacoma was the only thing that was helpful for her. Her mom was able to find it. She had to go to Mexico for it. They were giving her high doses and keeping her in for an extended period of time. So certain types of pain and neuropathy, I like the IV better for, but pretty much for everything else, we find a much better experience with the IM.
Okay. How many sessions
Research
do
shows,
clients go through?
yep. Research shows that 6 to 12 treatments is what's needed for long-lasting symptom relief. So somewhere around there. Our basic package, we start with 6 because that's the minimum that you're going to need. I personally had been on antidepressants my entire adult life. I knew at 6 that I wasn't finished. I knew that I still had a lot of work to do. I did 10. And at 10, I remember getting up out of the chair and feeling like this is what I perceive normal people to feel like I felt complete.
Wow. I'm sure you've seen a wide range of experiences. What are some things that people describe feeling like on ketamine?
So, for your first treatment, we always start low and go slow. For your first treatment, my goal is just to have you wake up with like a renewed sense of peace and self love. You feel a little floaty. People have described all kinds of things, seeing deceased relatives. People have feel like they have met God or Jesus. Um, it really varies. Sometimes it's like you're just sitting in a dark closet and you get thoughts and feelings, messages. Sometimes it feels like you're kind of moving. I've heard it described as like a magic carpet ride, a spaceship, even a roller coaster. And then sometimes it's like a very immersive dream, like you're wandering around and in this immersive dream, and your intention actually becomes reality,
What are
like a
some
virtual
ne
reality.
Okay, what are some negative reactions that people could have, or what have you seen? Um,
Really, the most common things that happen are people are a little bit tired for the first day, the treatment or two, but you metabolize out of ketamine very, very quickly, and you can experience some nausea. We do pre-medicate with Sofran, so it doesn't happen very often. Kind of like with mushrooms, people will have sometimes an energetic purge, and it doesn't matter how much Sofran we give them; they're just going to vomit. It's like the ketamine kind of shakes up their subconscious, and they purge it out. But really, other than that, ketamine is a really safe and gentle medicine.
okay.
What is the difference in the experience between the IM and the IV dosing?
So the dosing is fairly similar. The experience is a lot different, though. I've done both just so that I could have the conversation, so I could explain to patients what it's going to feel like. The IV is much more gentle. It's more kind of navigatable, like you can pull yourself in and out. The IM though is a little bit more profound. It hits you a little bit quicker, and it takes you, just hits you and takes you.
It's interesting. You would think it would be the opposite.
I know everybody comes in thinking I want IV, they think it's the gold standard, it's the best way to go. But really, we really prefer the intramuscular,
Can
especially for things like anxiety, depression, PTSD, and addiction issues, whether it's alcohol or other substances.
can you explain the some of the regulations around ketamine and the legal status of ketamine?
So ketamine is FDA approved. It's been around since the 50s. Unfortunately, it's gotten a little bit of a bad name, from people using it recreationally. But it's FDA approved, and it's given in ERs and ORs all over the world. Actually,
It is a
it's,
controlled substance, correct?
yes, it's Schedule 3. It is a dissociative anesthetic, so it's used, in ERs and ORs. It's the number one anesthetic for neonates because it doesn't suppress your respiratory or your cardiovascular system in any way. We are giving it off label for mental health issues. So for that reason, most insurance companies won't pay for it.
I've seen a lot of kickback from other professions who kind of want to claim ketamine and keep mental health out of ketamine space. Do you guys ever receive any kind of negative feedback from other professionals?
Not really. I have found that psychiatrists and doctors will be one way or the other. They're either absolutely for it because they see the results, and they read um, different studies, and they want that for their patients, or other times they're absolutely not about it. They'll say, if you're going to do this, then I don't want to see you as a patient.
What kind of documentation comes with storing a Schedule 3 substance? Do you have to specially store the ketamine or lock it up or anything?
Yeah, we double lock it just like any controlled medication. We have a med room that's locked with a code, and then we have it stored in a locked box in a safe.
I think we're both about to ask you a question. I was going to say, do you get most of your clients from referrals from other clinics or from hospitals?
Ketamine is becoming much more mainstream now. In the beginning, it was a lot of word of mouth, but now other doctors are, other psychiatrists, some therapists, some pain management doctors. So we are getting a lot of referrals from other places in healthcare, and it's not just word of mouth so much anymore.
When you were talking about with the blood pressure being elevated and sometimes needing a cardiac workup and cardiac clearance, do you ever get any pushback from cardiologists in pursuing this treatment for their patients?
No, not really. We'll have cardiologists that will call the office, and I talk to them. We do pre-medicate with propranolol, and that generally combats any undue stress on your heart. But just for our liability and for the patient's safety, if they have any type of cardiac history, I do ask for clearance. We did have one man that had an aneurysm, and his cardiologist wouldn't give him clearance. But there have been a lot of people that have like bypasses and they have stents put in. They have had histories of, cardiac MIs, or we've even had a gentleman that had a pretty massive stroke. And his neurologist was actually amazed. Now, to be fair, he did more than 6 treatments, but about a year after his stroke, they did another scan of his brain, and his brain had rewired around the infarct.
Amazing.
We had a man also who was in a domestic violence situation, and he had a metal plate and a shunt put in his head. And to be fair, he did more than 12 treatments too. But there was no evidence of the TBI any longer, about a year and a half out from his event.
Wow.
What does it look like when the patient comes in for their treatment? What does it look like when they walk in the door?
So we do things a little bit. Yeah, we do things a little bit differently than a lot of ketamine facilities. Ketamine is getting very trendy right now. So a lot of places, especially in this area, are starting to do it. There's even a place here in my town, they do lip filler, Botox, and we call it a little Keta closet. They literally just have a little room that they infuse people with ketamine and then let them drive home. We do things a lot differently. We have you come in first and you meet with myself. We go over your medical background, your social background. What are your goals and what are you hoping to achieve with the medicine? Because the both of you could come in and have completely different experiences or, completely different goals. We're all our own unique recipe of trauma and biology that bring us here. So treating everybody in an assembly line just doesn't make sense to us. So we have you come in and meet with myself, and I spend a lot of time with you even before you sit with the medicine. And then I kind of create a care plan for you moving forward. Then you meet with Dr. Ferber, and he evaluates you and approves you for the medicine. Then we start with 6 doses of ketamine. When you come in for your first treatment, we take you back, we get your weight, and then we sit and we talk about intention. What is your intention for this particular, for each one? Your first one could be something as simple as I'm open to whatever messages are for me today. Help me to release everything that no longer serves me, or whatever's, coming up for you that day. Gina, our integrator, sits and she does a whole prep session for your first one. And we talk about your intentions. We hook you up to what's called a care tracker. It's just a little Dynamap that sits right on your wrist, and it monitors your blood pressure, your heart rate, your rhythm strip, and your respiratory rate as you're going through the treatment. And that information goes right to a little iPad. We keep the iPad in the nurse's station, and then there's cameras in each room, so we can monitor the patients if they look like they need any type of support, we go running right in the room. They also have a call bell. So if they feel like they need something and there's no one there, they can ring the bell and we'll go in. And so not only can we see what's happening with them on the outside, but we're monitoring their vital signs as well. We only have 4 treatment rooms. So there's only 4 people in a treatment at a time, and we stagger the start time. So there's not 4 people in the same level of treatment. So after Gina goes in and preps them for their first one, we'll either place the IV and give it to them that way, or if they're going to have an intramuscular for their first intramuscular injection, we take the dose and divide it in half. And we give them half the medicine and we monitor them for 15 minutes. We look for signs like, are they already kind of melted into the chair and taking big, deep breaths? Or are they kind of peeking out from underneath the eye mask? Like, when's this party going to start? I'm not feeling anything. And that gives us more control on the back end. We could go a little bit higher or a little bit lower than what we had originally thought. We're usually really, really good about dosing, but every once in a while you have those rare unicorns that, you think we'll have a little lady that you think is going to need this much medicine. And she's usually the one that is looking out from underneath the eye mask, like, I don't feel this yet. Or we'll have these great big strong men come in and you think, oh my God, they're going to take a whole vial of ketamine. And they're usually the ones that after the first dose, they're molding energy or kind of melted deep into the chair. So that just gives us more control for the first one to dose on the back end. Then when you come in for treatment number 2, we ask about treatment number 1. What did it look like? What did it feel like? What did you experience in the medicine? What was your recovery period like? How have you been feeling since your last treatment? And we have a sliding scale where we can go up or back based on your answers.
So you mentioned the eye mask.
So once they have...
Oh, go ahead, continue. I'll circle back.
No, I was just going to say, you're in the medicine for about 45 minutes to an hour. Your first one, you're in for an hour because we split the dose. And then moving forward, you can get all the medicine in one treatment. You're in the medicine for about 45 minutes to an hour. When the medicine first starts, right after you get the shot, in 2 to 3 minutes, your nose and your mouth get numb, then your hands and your feet start to tingle, and then it starts to take over your whole body. I encourage people at that point, just take a big, deep breath, let it out, and just let yourself kind of fall into the medicine. I'm sorry, what was your question?
You mentioned an eye mask.
The eye mask.
Are there any other comfort measures that you have, like a special chair or special music that you play to help people feel more relaxed?
We have big comfy chairs, warm fuzzy blankets. We have eye masks. I tell people to wear just comfortable clothing. A lot of ladies will come in like yoga pants and a sports bra with a hoodie. We do have curated playlists and noise canceling headphones. The music is very important in kind of guiding you through your journey. We do things like healing frequencies, chakra balancing medicine or music, even some nature sounds.
Awesome. And you mentioned you've served over 15,000 doses, correct?
We're at about, the facility itself opened just a few months before the COVID lockdown. I've been there since 21, and I guesstimate about 17,000 treatments.
Wow.
At this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of lives affected.
Yeah. We're at about a 93% success rate.
Goodness.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And then what does integration afterwards look like? Do you have help with integrating afterwards in between sessions? Or
Yeah.
is that...
So Gina, she kind of preps you for about 15 minutes before your treatment, and then 15 minutes after the treatment. And then we do in between phone calls, and then we have packages that have more extensive integration as well.
Okay, great.
You guys were featured in a news segment, isn't that right? Could you tell us more about the media features that you guys have had?
We've been in Fox News, Kennedy Live. We were in Money Court. We were in Oprah Online. We've really been all over. And they are just getting ready to open a new resort in the Caribbean that's going to do extended stay DMTX.
Wow. What can you share about that? That sounds like very interesting.
That is just starting to open the next few months. Um, so I can't share a whole lot on that yet, but there's a lot of super exciting things happening.
Okay, very
It'll
cool.
be
We'll have
very
to
soon.
do a
Yeah.
follow-up episode with you.
Yes. After
Awesome.
my first experience, I'll come back and tell you about it.
Okay. Okay. What can you tell us about your coworkers and the owner of the clinic?
So we are actually there because Charles had a 20-year opioid addiction. And he was able to get clean and sober with psychedelic medicine. And he thought, what better way to pay it forward than to open the clinic and help other people. He felt like it would be 20 years of suffering for nothing if he didn't do something to pay it forward. So he sold his Rolex, and Christina took out a small business loan, and they opened the clinic.
Wow.
And that was, that was 2021. Everybody that's at our facility has sat with the medicine and healed something within themselves with the medicine. So we're not just doctors and nurses with science books saying you may experience this or you may feel this. Like, I know what it's like to sit in the chair. I know what it's like to come off of antidepressants. I know what it's like to feel so low that you don't even want to get out of bed in the morning. And then, who better to integrate you than someone who's been there and done that.
That's great. Absolutely. Yes. How do you see the future of your clinic? Like, do you
We
plan on expanding to other locations, or do you have a plan for your
We have
current
had
clinic?
so many people that want to expand, in Arizona and New York, even different places in Florida. So that is probably something that will be happening soon.
Very cool. Do you guys do any kind of community events or community involvement? Like,
We do. We go around to different wellness fairs and things like that. We have a podcast, a myself wellness podcast. Gina and I are going to be taking that over shortly as Charles and Christina are starting to work on some other ventures.
okay.
And it's just four of you in the clinic there?
It's Charles and Christina. Gina is our psychedelic integrator, myself, and then we have nurses. Dr. Ferber is our medical director.
Okay.
We have started doing some other things too, like EBU, ozone therapy. We do different therapeutic IVs.
You said Ebu?
Yep, it's oxygenated blood treated with ozone. It helps you to detoxify from things like heavy metals and lime, mold.
Wow, cool. Very neat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can answer this, remaining HIPAA compliant, but if you can, that'd be great. But is there any particular stories that really stand out that people have healed through this medicine?
We have had multiple people with suicide ideations come in, and ketamine is such a rapid acting antidepressant. It pulls you out of suicidal ideations. I actually had a man who came, he had weapons on him when he came, and we had to disarm him. And after his treatment, he told us that he had the weapons because he was never going to go home. We've had so many patients that have just been broken after losing a child or losing a loved one, and they have seen their deceased relatives in the medicine. We've gotten people off of, I think 11 was the highest number of pharmaceuticals.
Are there any psychotropic medications, SSRI, SNRI, antipsychotics that would disqualify someone? And the second part of that question is, do you see where the ketamine treatments have been profoundly beneficial in helping people come off of their medications if they have been on them for a long time?
So, myself included, I had been on antidepressants from my early 20s. I had tried multiple times to come off, and I would make it about 2 to 8 weeks, and I would kind of spiral down again. Because of the way the ketamine helps you to start secreting dopamine, which is your feel good hormone, you start to naturally feel better. So, you don't need to treat the symptoms as much. After my fourth treatment, I had already been tapering off of my Paxil. And after my fourth treatment, I completely dumped the bottle. And I've been pharmaceutical free ever since.
Does this seem to help with withdrawal side effects from the antidepressants then? Is it
It
a lot of
does.
people are really struggling with the withdrawal coming off of the antidepressants,
We
which
do
is a little
different
different.
therapeutic IVs as well. We'll give people like some IV magnesium, different amino acids and things to feel better from the withdrawal symptoms. But the ketamine is a pattern interrupter. So it kind of interrupts the negative self-talk, the intrusive thoughts that we get. There are very few medications that really interact poorly with it. Benzos, I'll ask people to hold the day of their treatment, if Dr. Ferber agrees with that. Medications like Cialis, for some reason, people don't get as profound of an experience. GLPs, we ask people if they are not taking it because they're diabetic, if they're taking it for weight loss, we do ask people to hold while they're coming through their treatments if they're only taking it for weight loss, just because of the risk of aspirating should they vomit. Let's see, Cialis. Oh, and for some reason, allergy medications kind of block your visions as well. So, but really, those are the only medications that will have people hold.
Can women who are breastfeeding take ketamine?
We ask not while they're breastfeeding and not while they're pregnant. There have been, I did talk to a lady that said that she went to a different facility and they just told her to pump and dump. I don't want to be responsible or liable for anything. So we tell people not while they're breastfeeding.
So one of the benefits in my own experience with psychedelic medicines is the resetting of the nervous system, pulling someone out of the fight or flight. Do you see that similarly with the ketamine treatments? If someone is really in that sympathetic nervous system, will it pull them out? And if so, how long do those results typically last?
So everybody's a little bit different. Some people will feel better literally after their first treatment. They'll come in for treatment number 2 and they're like, wow, I can't believe I feel this good. I haven't felt this good since I was a child. I personally was not that person. I actually started to feel a little worse. It shook up all of my, just shook up all the traumas that I had suppressed. And for my first couple treatments, I felt a little raw. I felt a little angsty. It wasn't until after treatment number 4 that I really started to feel better. I have noticed over the years that people that stop at 6, those are the people that will tend to come back and have some maintenance here and there. If you go until you get that feeling of completeness the way that I did, those type of people generally have long lasting results. Like I did my treatments in 21. I have not felt like I've needed to use it for my mental health since then.
Wow. Yeah. Could you discuss more of your pay structure? And you mentioned a sliding scale payment. Like how much do these treatments cost for people without insurance?
Okay, so insurance isn't paying for it right now for the most part because we're using it off label. We have our basic package, which is your appointment with myself, your appointment with Dr. Ferber, 6 doses of ketamine, all of your integration therapies on each visit, whether that's internal family systems or inner child work, whatever you need on any particular day. We do in between appointment phone calls, and then you have a follow-up appointment at the end of those initial 6 with Dr. Ferber. The cost for that package is $3,500. We do give a 10% discount to veterans and first responders. And then should you want to go on beyond those initial 6, we sell them in 3 packs, 3 for $1,200. We do take HSA and FSA accounts, so that's kind of free money for people. And then we also work with Care Credit. Care Credit allows you to finance the package and pay it back from 6 to 60 months. So you can get it down to under $100 a month.
Excellent.
Do you see ketamine as becoming more popular? You said it's more trendy now. So does that mean more people are taking ketamine in the US and even internationally?
It's coming up. Clinics are opening up all over Southwest Florida. It is becoming, sorry, there's a fly. It is becoming, more people are really looking into it, especially since the whole Matthew Perry thing. That really shined the light on ketamine. People started researching it a little bit more and finding out how effective it was. So we've had quite an influx of patients in the last 2 years or so.
How do you guys compete with like home ketamine treatments? I know Florida has a lot of the home ketamine.
We have taken a super hard stance against at-home ketamine. Number one, we've had some patients that have done 6 or 9 treatments and have had, absolutely no issues. And then treatment number 10, they get a little squirrely in the medicine. So if you were doing that at home, you could be a danger to yourself or somebody that's watching you. And we have noticed over the years, if they give you more of a microdose than we give you, and while ketamine doesn't meet the criterion of an addictive medication, when you're taking it in a microdose and you get that light euphoric feeling, we have seen people come in, addicted to that. So we actually got one girl off of ketamine using ketamine. She said in her treatment, the medicine told her, she's kind of self-medicating with it at home, and she shouldn't be doing that.
Where do you see the majority of your clientele coming from? Is it from people seeking the medicine on their own, or are you getting referrals from other providers, other mental health physicians that are recommending?
It's really a mix of both. A lot of people will they'll just Google anxiety relief or depression relief and come across ketamine. A lot of people will research, psychedelics. Maybe they're researching ayahuasca or mushrooms, and they come across the ketamine. So we get a lot of people from referrals, as well as just looking for something. They've tried everything. They've tried talk therapy. They've tried traditional pharmaceuticals, and nothing has worked for them.
Excellent. That's really eye-opening for me.
93% success rate is extremely high compared to other health treatments. So what about the 7% that don't respond?
Traditional pharmaceuticals, depending on what study you look at, are like 41 to 47% effective. And they numb some of your symptoms. They numb your highs and your lows, but they're not curative. They're not designed to cure you. It's like if you have a cold and you take cough medicine, the cough medicine treats your symptoms. It stops you from coughing for a period, but it doesn't cure your cold. Whereas the ketamine goes in and you just start feeling better. And it, like I said, it kind of cures the wound, so you no longer need to treat the symptoms.
What kind of suggestion would you give that 7% of people who don't have a positive response to ketamine?
Unfortunately, one of the hardest things I think to treat is alcoholism, especially here in Southwest Florida, because people come here to vacation, people come here to party, people retire here because they want to have a good time. And alcohol is so ingrained in our lives, in our, you know, people will say, I've had patients that are like, oh, I go golfing 3 times a week. I can't not drink. Or I can't stop drinking because I don't cook for myself, and the waitress brings me beer when I come in. Nobody has to explain why they want to stop heroin. Nobody has to explain why they want to feel better from depression. But being sober is lonely. I know when I stopped drinking, I've never had a drinking problem. I could always take it or leave it. But after my ketamine treatments, I just decided alcohol isn't for me anymore. I don't like the way that it makes me feel. I don't need to numb myself with some substance. And it's very, very lonely. People will stop drinking for a period. They'll go for 6 months and they'll think that they have it beat, so they start having a glass of wine 3 times a week when they go out for dinner, and then before you know it, it's 2 glasses of wine 6 times a week, and it's just a slippery slope, and they start to go right back into old habits. So I would say alcohol is probably the hardest thing that we treat. Things like anxiety and depression and PTSD, it's really game changing because there's so little effort that you have to put into it.
Could you tell us more about the Jesus
And
type
we really try to treat the
experiences?
whole.
Oh,
Yeah.
um,
Um,
I was just curious if
we've
these
had,
are people who are already religious or spiritual
no,
or.
no, they're really not. The very first time I saw it happen, there was this man. He did not look like he believed in Jesus. And he stood up out of his chair and just started saying, I've been washed in the blood of Jesus Christ. Thank you, God. And he had seen Jesus in the medicine. Um, we we've had people that are Christian. I had one lady that came in and she was worried, what if I open my mind too much and Satan comes in? And I actually asked a preacher, I don't know how to answer that question for her. And he said that if God is there, if God is in her heart, she doesn't have anything to worry about. She said that she saw Jesus and that he placed his hand on her head and he released her from a lot of guilt and shame that she had experienced in her life from traumas as a young person.
You just said something about someone who stood up. So, with a lot of psychedelics, there's ataxia involved and some muscle discoordination and difficulty. Like I experienced that with ayahuasca, the profound weakness and ataxia, as well as with psilocybin, that can oftentimes happen with higher doses. Is that something that you typically see with ketamine?
You broke up a little bit in the beginning. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So ataxia or just muscle weakness and discoordination, is that something that you see with ketamine?
When they're in the medicine, they're really kind of melted into the chair for the most part. When they first wake up, they have a little bit of coordination issues, but you metabolize out of ketamine very quickly. We give you some juice, we give you some snacks, and the sugar kind of pulls you out. Their first walk to the bathroom when they first wake up is a little, we call it kettle legs. They need a little bit of assistance, but after about 15 or 20 minutes, it's, you're kind of back to normal.
Is incontinence ever an issue?
It's funny that you say that because it just was this week. We've had, over the years, we've had maybe 3 or 4 people. We do ask people to fast for 4 hours before you come in. Ketamine stimulates your kidneys a little bit, so it can make you have to pee if you're not fasted.
Do you require clients to have someone drive them home?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We actually have them sign a consent saying that they won't drive for 12 hours. And we're very strict about it. If we see people trying to drive, we stop them and we talk to them about it. If this is an issue again, we have them call for a ride or get an Uber. And if this is an issue again, we will not see you as a patient here. We want, everybody to be safe. We want other people on the roads to be safe.
And what is the total treatment time commitment for each session? So
we tell you to plan to be there for about 2.5 hours for your first treatment, and 2 hours beyond that. Now, with that being said, we have a beautiful integration room with a great big comfy couch. There's a meditation corner. There's a journaling area. A lot of people aren't ready to go out into the bright sunshine, or they're not ready to get into the car, or maybe they have a toxic home life or a chaotic home life, lots of kids or, extended family. We have the integration room and they are welcome to sit there and spend as much time as they want there.
I imagine this takes a lot of support from clients' family to be on board with their treatment. So do you guys involve their family at all?
It's tricky because of HIPAA. We do have some people that we will do like some marriage counseling with. We do have people that like the wife will bring them in, like he's a problem, you got to fix him. And when he does the treatments, he realizes that he's only being reactive to, a bigger situation. So we have had a lot of people, both couples will do the treatments, both people in the couple will do the treatments, because one starts to feel better, the other person wants to feel better as well.
Can you explain how ketamine can heal relationships or what you've seen with family dynamics?
Sure. So we do it 2 different ways. The way that I just told you about, like when I did my treatments, I started to feel so much better, and my husband and I had both been depressed, and I don't even think either one of us realized how depressed we were. But after I did my treatments, I started to feel better and feel up here, and I would actually have anxiety going home, like, oh my God, I got to go home to him, he's going to be drinking when I get there, he's going to be anxious. He started to see how much better I was. He came and did the treatments as well. And then we went and had therapy together, to look at past traumas that we put each other through. And because the way the ketamine dissolves your ego, it gives you a very safe, comfortable feeling place to bring those issues out and talk about them. We also will do ketamine nasal spray, which is just a light dose. We'll have the patients come in about 15 minutes early. We'll administer the spray, and then Dr. Ferber will come in and do marriage counseling with them. And that's been really beautiful for a lot of couples as well. We actually did have this one couple, she came and did the treatments, and she would talk about her husband and say all these things. And then her husband came in and did the treatments. And because of HIPAA, she was like, oh, he doesn't love me, he this, he that. And he would say the same thing about her, but I couldn't tell either one of them what the other person was saying. So to both of them, I was like, you guys have been married for 30 years. You have a lot of, your lives are tied together. So if you are going to end your marriage, why don't you do it with the help of Dr. Ferber? Let him help you to kind of untie these things a little bit and set you up for the best possible divorce that you can have. You have children, you have to find a way to be productive and do this so that you don't hurt your children. And then I went to Dr. Ferber and I told him about her and I told him about the man. And then he helped them to kind of come together and realize that they both did really love each other.
Oh.
And neither one of them wanted it to end. They just had a lot of miscommunication, but they were able to bring it out in a way that didn't feel as scary and didn't feel as angsty as before.
What advice would you give a nurse who may be looking for a career change or for something new? Maybe they've worked in traditional healthcare and aren't happy.
I feel like what you're doing is amazing. When I first came to well, even before I first came to the clinic, when I started looking at alternative therapies, there wasn't a whole lot. My nurse friends were like not on board with the things that I was looking into. And then I found like open nurses and different educational resources, Canadelic, different psychedelic conferences. So I think that what you're doing is absolutely amazing, giving people education on this type of medicine.
Thank you. So you recommend that nurses who might be burnt out or don't like where they currently are to look to outside organizations, associations, conferences, anything that
Absolutely.
piques their interest and
Absolutely.
find
My
a bigger
first
network.
Canadelic conference, I sat and watched a speaker, and I looked around the room and I thought, I can't believe there are all of these people sitting here listening to somebody talk about magic mushrooms as medicine. Like, it was mind blowing to me. It was amazing. And I had no idea that that was even something that was offered.
It seems like you've really found your place somewhere that you're happy, you're helping a lot of people, you're in alignment with your work. So that's really special. The place that you found and carved out for yourself, and your whole background has led you to do what you do now.
It's funny because Charles used to always tell me to tell my story, that it would resonate with somebody. And I thought, who's going to care about my story? I got myself into trouble. I was depressed. I took all these medicines, and I had a patient about 6 months into working there. He was having a really hard time. I was sitting on the floor with him. His head was in my lap. He was just crying. And I don't even remember what I said to him, but he looked up at me and said, "You know what? Fuck you. What do you know?" And I was like, "What do I know? Let me tell you what I know." And I told him all about my story of depression and anxiety and self medicating with pharmaceuticals. And at the end, he was crying. He was like, "I had no idea. I look at you today and I think that you've always been like this." Um, so it was in that moment that I thought I had to go through all of the things that I went through so that I could be here right now
Yeah.
doing this
Do you see yourself doing this for the foreseeable future?
forever.
Forever?
Forever.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
I
Perfect.
do. I have held space for people with different psychedelics outside of ketamine. I do think that I might go to a certification for 5-MeO to serve that medicine as well.
Would that be connected to the resort you were talking about earlier?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows?
We don't know what the future holds.
Yes. Charles and Christina said I have to stay here to work at my self wellness. Not allowed to
You,
go to the island.
you need a clone.
That's what Christina says.
Well, what can you tell us about the My Self Wellness podcast?
We have a lot of previous patients on there that tell their stories about, coming off of pharmaceuticals, or we have some veterans that have been on there. Really, we try to get people who have really good stories of, trauma, or people that just felt like they had tried everything and nothing worked for them. We try to get people from all different stages in their life, so that it resonates with everyone.
What if someone from, say, far away, like Virginia or New York, wants to come to your clinic? How would you suggest that they
We
get
see
their
people
treatment?
from all over the country. We even have patients from Canada. We have there's a hotel right on the other side of our parking lot. We have we have 2 or 3 people from Alaska, Canada, California. We try to make it very easy for you. While I like to do the intake in person, it can be done over telehealth. You can see Dr. Ferber over telehealth, so you only have to be in Florida in person for the medicine treatments.
And then how far
I've
apart were the treatments?
We like to do 2 treatments a week because there's a cumulative effect of the medicine. As long as they're not further than 7 days apart. Like when I did my treatments, I just couldn't get a ride twice a week. My husband was working and I lived about 50 miles from the facility. So I did mine every Monday for 10 weeks.
So people stay in Florida for a couple months to be treated?
Some do. Some will come, like say they'll fly down on a Tuesday. They'll do a treatment Tuesday, they'll do a treatment Thursday, and then fly back home. And they'll do that several times. Sometimes people will just get an Airbnb for a month. We do see, in season, a lot of snowbirds come down, so they're down here anyway.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, we even have a movie producer from LA that comes to us. So I just try to make it easy for everyone. We telehealth things. I help people set up their Ubers or their Airbnbs, send people a list of hotels in the area.
Well, wow. Well, Monica, do you have any more questions for Nurse Jess?
I don't think so. I think you've really covered a lot here.
We've learned a lot today. I think we're both ready to come down to Florida.
Come on down. It's great. I think I have utilized many psychedelics in my healing journey. I think each one is good for a different thing in your brain, but ketamine seems to be a really beautiful umbrella psychedelic. It's great for anxiety, depression, PTSD, chronic pain. It's safe, it's FDA approved, so there's no issues with legality, and it's not a horrible experience. I rather enjoy the treatments.
Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your
Thank
wealth
you.
of knowledge and experience. What is your contact or your website so that people could visit you and find you?
We're at myselfwellness.com, and my work cell phone is 239-662-7577, and I can help you all the way through your journey.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nurse Jessica.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time. We really appreciate you, and we'll share your video to YouTube.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.